everyone, it's Vanessa, your homeschool narrowboat teacher here, and today for my lesson I'm going to explain to you exactly how a lock works, and I have come to a staircase lock as an example. Before I show you the real life version, this is a diagram of a lock. There are many different types of lock. Single, double, guillotine, staircase and flights are just examples. This is a single lock, which means only one boat can fit inside. The inside of a lock is called the chamber, and the blue arrow points to this. On either side of the lock gates are the pounds. The bottom pound contains the lower level of water, and the top pound has the higher level of water. Watch as Zephyr now crosses the beam on the top of the bottom gate. The arrow on this picture shows the gate in the diagram, and these must be shut before you begin to fill the lock up. Here I am using a windlass which attaches to the spindle of the paddle, allowing me to move the paddle up and down to open and close the sluice gates. Some paddles are kept in the gate and they're called gate paddles, and other paddles are kept in the ground and they are called ground paddles. This means that sometimes the water comes in from the sluices in the gate and sometimes it comes in from the sluices in the ground. The top of the diagram shows the ground version. Zephyr is standing right next to a paddle with its pawl on top. And this is another type of pawl. What that means is it's a lock to stop the paddle from slipping down. It slots into the teeth on the rack, which is part of the paddle. People who stand and watch the boats as they use the canal system are called gongoozlers. This picture is at Camden Lock, where hundreds gongoozle boats. It's very nerve-wracking going through the lock here. All sorts of things happen at locks. On the Stratford Canal, I met a red-faced Muscovy duck at a lock, which watched our every move as we passed through. Leonardo da Vinci invented the first canal locks in the early 15th century. What a genius! Now it's your turn to be a genius at estimating numbers. Come on, it's time for your right to learn. Today we're going to estimate whilst calculating. So what does estimating while calculating actually mean? Let me explain. It means calculating using rounding so that you can have a good close answer to the actual amount. Now, like all my other lessons, I have a series of simple steps to follow whilst you're estimating whilst calculating. So let's have a look at what they are. Step 1, write your number. So now I'm just going to write a number. 8,764. Then it says, write the thousands and rounded hundreds on either side of the number. So here is my number. I write the thousands, but the 1,000 is 8. See, there are 8 thousands. And then it says the rounded hundreds on either side. So rounded hundreds means, first of all, I look at the 100 that I currently have, and see, it's the number 7. So I write 700. But then, if I was counting in hundreds, and there is a lesson about that 100 more than and 10 more than in a video before this. If I was counting on in hundreds, 8,700 and 100 more than 700 is 800. So that would be on the other side of my number line, 8,800. So I've written my number, I've written the thousands, and then I've written the rounded hundreds on either side of this number, 700 and 800. A rounded hundred means that it will have no tens and no ones in the columns, see? Now I do step 3, which is find the halfway point between the two numbers to help me round. So if I was imagining this as a number line, what would halfway be between 8,700 and 8,800? Well done, everyone. 8,750. 8,750. Once I have my halfway point, I can round my number, and it's the one that it is closest to from the halfway point. So because my number is 64, and 64 is bigger than the halfway point of 50, 8,750, it means that it's closer to 8,800 than it is 8,700. And therefore, if I rounded my number 8,764 to the nearest hundred, it would be 8,800. So if I was going to calculate with this, it's much easier to add 8,800 to another number in my head rather than imagine it's 8,764. And overall, that would give me an estimate answer. Not the actual answer, but close to it. Well, what though if your number was actually the halfway point? 8,750. What would you round that to? Well, the rule of rounding is, if you are at the halfway point, you always round up to the next 100 or 10, whatever you're rounding to. So 8,750 rounded to the nearest 100 is 8,800. So now you've learned how to use estimating by rounding with the actual numbers. Now we have to put it into practice with the calculation. I know you're going to do well. I have faith in you. Now it's time for the activity. Remember to estimate each number first before you calculate to get your estimated calculation. And here are the answers. Pause the video and look very closely at each estimated number and the answer. How did you get on? So let's look in our learning today. We were estimating, which means we were calculating using rounding so that we can have a good close answer to an actual amount. We wrote our numbers down, we wrote the thousands and rounded our hundreds on either side. Then we found the halfway point to work out where we were going to round our number to. Once we'd rounded our numbers, we could calculate them to get a good estimated answer. Even though we've worked very hard, we're still ready for your projects effort, so what's in the Learning Lab? Estimate totals of shopping and the change from the bill by rounding to the nearest pound. Spend 10 minutes just listening and then write a poem about all of the sounds you could hear. Find out about musical notes and their beats, and using an instrument, which could be homemade, practice the different beats. And when walking outside, take a tennis ball with you and make a personal best throw. Measure the distance, then try to beat it each time you take a walk. Take care until next lesson.
Okay.